And we'll begin in West Africa, where worried by the security challenges in Nigeria, the federal government and state governors are considering the creation of state police. This was part of deliberations between President Bola Tinubu and state governors at the presidential villa in Abuja on Thursday. While briefing journalists after the meeting, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, explained that the process is still in its infancy and will only take shape after more deliberations between stakeholders.
The President and the state governors have also discussed the possibility of improving the numeric strength of forest rangers to train them so that they can keep our forest and our borders very safe. Now, there is also a discussion around the issue of state police. The federal government and the state governments are mulling the possibility of setting up state police. Of course, this is still going to be further discussed. A lot of work has to be done in that direction, but both the federal government and the state governments are agreeing to the necessity of having state police.
Other deliberations at the meeting were on the issue of food hoarding in some states and that for food importation should be discouraged. Now, joining
the Director General of the State Services, the Inspector General of Police, have been directed to coordinate with the state governors to look at the issue of those holding commodities. At this point that the nation requires food to be brought out to the people so that we can control prices and put food on the table of most Nigerians. Other commodity traders are busy holding these commodities so that Nigerians will suffer or they will make more money as a result. So the governors and Mr. President have taken this decision that security agencies will cooperate or collaborate with the state governors to ensure that this ends. A decision has also been taken that in the interest of our country, there will be no need for food importation at this point. Nigeria has the potential to feed itself and even be a next exporter of food items to other countries. And we do not also want to reverse some of the progress we have seen in terms of food production in this country. What we are seeing now is just a temporary difficulty that will soon go away. Therefore, the solution to it is by continuous investment in agriculture so that food can be made available to all Nigerians.
Now, joining us on the news to discuss more on the creation of state police to tackle the insecurity in Nigeria is Sola Omolayo. He's a public affairs analyst. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining me at this time.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
All right, so Sola, firstly, would like for you to tell us what you think are the current limitations of the federal police in addressing the security challenges across different states in Nigeria that needs to be addressed if we would have an effective, state police, because the talk on state police has actually been on for some time now.
Anyway, because of time, whatever ideas the government is bringing on board, I don't think if they are not well in queue, if what is needed is not put in place, I don't see any difference in whatever we might be saying when introducing into the system. Take Lagos State, for instance. If you are talking of state police, I want to believe we are having something similar to what
Okay. All right. We definitely lost Shola there, but we'll try to reconnect with him. All right, Shola, can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I can
lost
hear
you
you
for a
now. So
bit
sorry
there.
about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Like I said, we have a specimen of a state police in Lagos. And it's not about what you are having, it's about how are you going to equip them and the authority which they need to work with. Let me tell you this. Do you know we have what we call neighborhood watch in Lagos? Neighborhood watch is like a state policing, so to say. It might not be pronounced as a state police because it's not backed up by the federal might. But let me tell you this. The first time these people were introduced is to curtail a kind of a crisis that we are having at the time of Marwa. They were introduced like a think tank system, a think tank organization that metamorphosed into neighborhood watch that we are talking about today. Now, these people was refined during Ambode. And what did they ask them to do after they've undergone some kind of a training? They were posted into streets where they were given a kind of a bicycle. And from our information, they were to study the environment, their locality, and they will write a report based on what they noticed, based on some black spot they noticed, and they will send it to the state authority to work on, which is security of the state. I think they are being managed also by the the rapid response.
So, Shola, are you saying that in some of these states they actually have neighborhood watches, that there might be no need for state policing?
I am not saying that. I'm only saying how equipped are they going to be? Are they going to equip them to that capacity? Will they respond based on what? That's why I'm using the Lagos State as a specimen. That we already have something like a state police in that regard. But how prepared are they? How can you sustain them based on that line? I keep talking about neighborhood watch here in Lagos. But today, this neighborhood watch that ought to be in every look and cranny of our local government, to be writing report of some dangerous spot around. They are there doing traffic work now, joining the so-called last month. It is not calling out these people that matters, it's giving them the equipment to work with. With the present police force we are having, if you can give them the necessary tool they need to work with, you will be shocked what they can do.
Okay, so
I'm not saying you should not have state police, but what is going to be the energy, the machine, the equipment they are going to be working with? And the state governors, are they going to be doing what is necessary to be done?
All right,
Do you
so
know the amount of money that the federal government is giving?
Still on your thoughts. What are the risks related with decentralizing, law enforcement through the establishment of state police? What are some of the risks?
There's no risk that is not in place. So there's no risk. It's just the expansion of the powers that we are talking about here. Expansion of power, because if you want to have a kind of a state police, you need to employ more hands to it. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I'm using the neighborhood watch as a template, that we already have something similar. All you just need to do is to endorse them, and maybe if they need to be carrying arms, that would be the next thing. But how effective will they be? That's what I'm asking you. Will the state governors, will they be able to exercise what is need to be done on this state policing that they're talking about? That was why I said this neighborhood watch is like a state policing of a sort. They ought to be on street, but now they are in. You find them around Boston with LASMA. That's not supposed to be their job. If the neighborhood watch is doing what it ought to be done, you don't need to be told before you know you're already having a state police here in Lagos State.
Okay, now from what I actually got, yes, the state policing, if created, is actually, a good one, but only if they have the necessary tools and if it is going to be effective. So in talking about it being effective now, how do you think, if, it comes to the fore and it's created and it starts to, work, how do you think, harmonization can be facilitated between the federal and the state police agencies to address national security concerns?
My sister, I want to ask you this question. Creating any information is not a problem. whoever is in charge of the states is what you are going to be asking. Will they be able to manage these people right? That's the question. If you have a wrong administration managing a state, even whatever you do concerning the security network, either you call it a state police or neighborhood watch, it is the administrator of that state that will be held responsible. These are the people that we should ask questions. Will they be ready to fund this institution? Will they be ready? With the amount of money that the state government, the federal government is allocating to them now. Have you seen the difference? So if you are going to create a state police, who manages it? How do they get the authority? At what point should they stop the bar? What should be the marginal line where they can operate and invite the federal power to back it up, just like it's been done in other states? When I mean other states, like America, which is always our next door neighbor, because we can't even call Ghana here.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sola Omolayo, a public affairs analyst, for joining me on the news and speaking on this.
Thank you very much. It is the police of NEPA or KDN that is giving me some kind of discomfort here. That's why you are seeing me not
Sorry
being,
about that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, sir. All right, now moving away from that, the convener of the #RevolutionNow movement, Omoyele Sowore, has confirmed that the federal government of Nigeria has decided to withdraw the case of treason allegations against him. A notice of discontinuance, officially stamped by the Federal High Court in Abuja on Thursday and signed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, was issued on Wednesday. The notice stated that the complainant, the federal government of Nigeria, intended to discontinue the case, exercising the power conferred under relevant constitutional and legal provisions. Now, earlier on Wednesday, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja had warned that he might strike out the treason charge if the government was not prepared to proceed with the case, which had lingered for 5 years. Now joining us on the news is Femi Adeyeye. He's the National Publicity Secretary of the AAC, that's Sowore's party. Good evening, Femi. Thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
All right, so what's the mood like for your party, knowing that Sowore has actually been vindicated and cleared of the treason charges?
Yes, the first thing to say is that there was never any case, and we have always mentioned this, we've outlined this several times to people who care to listen, that the only people who are on trial, the only people who are under any kind of charge is the federal government and the ruling class by extension. So for us, it is just, this is a premeditated, or let me put it this way, it's an outcome that we have prepared for. That at the end of the day, when they get tired of wasting the resources of the Nigerian people, they would discontinue the case. So this is what has played out today. And for us, it is a victory for the Nigerian people, based on the fact that Nigerians, the people clamoring for revolution, revolution in the economy, revolution in our political system, revolution in the way we do things generally. Because as we have it today, Nigeria is on the brink of a collapse. And until we start stamping our feet on the ground and making sure that our voices are heard, would have no headway. So what we've just seen today is a clear testimony that the people have a voice, and that the people, or the power in the people rather, is greater than the people in power. And so that is it for us. It's a victory for the Nigerian people, and it's a shame to those who have continued to ruin the lives of our people, to waste their resources.
All right, Femi. Now, but despite the notice of discontinuance served, do you anticipate any further legal or political implications, especially in relation to this case?
Yeah, we are dealing with people who actually do not, they have no regard for human rights. This is someone who did nothing, but you held him down for over 5 years. So the implication, or what else that would come out of this, is the fact that I think this, first of all, is that the government has accepted defeats openly now. And the implication is that we would then raise more questions. You would agree with me that the number of Nigerians that are clamoring for revolution now, presently, is greater than that number that we had in 2019. So the implication now is that the government has lost the debates, both in courts, on the streets, and even in the minds of Nigerians. So what we have right now is that Nigerians are the ones in charge of their destiny. And in the coming days, you would hear more and more from the revolutionary train.
Okay, well, you did say that, that we're actually dealing with people who have no regard for human rights. Now, I would actually love to know your thoughts on the state of freedom of speech and expression in Nigeria, especially following this development.
Yeah, it's an abysmal state. We don't need any professor from Harvard or any institution around the world to tell us this before we know. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. So the state of freedom of expression or freedom of speech in this country is in an abysmal state, like I said earlier. And it will continue to get worse, especially with these people who are now in power. And one thing you must also understand as Nigerians is that as we continue to make our voices heard, we must also protect it even with our lives. Because, like I always say, that day would never come when these people would voluntarily or magnanimously just allow you to start speaking or start, demonstrating, exercising your rights. As we speak, we have people, languishing in different detention centers. We have different enforced disappearances, cases, reports of journalists, of human rights activists, across the country. If you go into some DSS centers, you will find people whose relatives have declared missing already. You will find them there. I'm saying this as a matter of fact. It is just because these people are using their voice to speak against the current, state of the country, which is in ruins.
Okay.
So the state is so poor. It is in a state where we all must wake up at this time and fight for the freedom of expression.
All right, Femi. Well, just before we actually go, how do you think dropping these charges will affect Sowore's activities and also change the trajectory of political activism in Nigeria?
No, Sowore has never gone on a break before. I read already somewhere people saying, "Oh, now we can go and rest." If you think so, I think you don't really. Anyone who is thinking in that direction does not understand the idea behind that man. What's going to happen right now, because of they've lost, is that a lot of issues will be raised, including number one, first of all, the DSS must immediately release his passports and his phone that has been confiscated. They would pay him all damages that were actually accrued to him by different judges at different points in time. That will be done, and the Nigerian government was immediately apologize to him and his co-defendant Olawale Bakare. After that, the Nigerian government must apologize to the Nigerian people for wasting their resources for over 5 years over a case that has no head or tail like the governors that they are running presently in the country. So those are the implications, and they should get ready for more clamor for the revolution now demands, because everything we said in 2019 are still very much present with us in 2024. Nothing has changed. In fact, it has moved from bad to worse. And if we do not speak at this time, we may not have a country by the next morning.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Femi, for joining me at this time and also speaking on this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we move away from that, where the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has placed a 20 million naira bounty on the heads of some suspected kidnappers currently being trailed by personnel of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command. Now, this was as the minister visited the command, where several suspected one-chance syndicates and also kidnappers were paraded, many of them caught in the act. Amading Uyi reports.
The minister arrived at the FCT Police Command in Abuja. The FCT Police Commissioner went straight into business, parading to the minister some notorious one-chance syndicates arrested including several suspected criminal gangs terrorizing the capital.
This group are responsible for the kidnap at the Federal Mortgage Housing Estate in Kabusa. They have confessed to that, Your Excellency. They are responsible for the kidnap in Keti village, Fulani residents, where the Alhaji Sani, many people know the area, is a popular place. They are responsible. They are responsible for the kidnap of a Getman and her madam in Kabusa Estate. They are equally responsible for the kidnap of Mr. Sunday Zakwai and 4 others. Mr. Sunday Zakwai, the district head, they killed him. They have equally confessed that, Excellency. They are equally responsible for the kidnap. That was what led to our arresting them yesterday. The 2 staff of the Ministry of Defense, the Defense Estate kidnapped.
He says arms, money, and ammunition were recovered from some of the groups after they had collected ransom from their victims.
We recovered the sum of 9 million naira ransom from them. The money is here. They have in their cards. We recovered their guns. We have not finished. The husband of the other 2, that's the people that is remaining, were for us to complete their actions. We recovered this bulletproof from the bulletproof vest. They have bulletproof vest. Look at it there. We recovered it from them. A locally fabricated walkie-talkie. We recovered it from them. And this AK-47s, we recovered it, sir.
An ecstatic minister commended the police for their efforts and then placed a 20 million naira bounty on the heads of some of the kidnappers currently on the trail of the police.
They have terrorized us. They were happy, making news that FCT is not safe. I told them, you will die for it. And look at their faces. Who will even drink a cup of water from this? Now let me just read it. You said it's remaining about 2 or 3 persons. Yes, sir. Okay. Let me put money on their head. And so wherever they are, send their men out there. Yes, sir. I will give them 20 million naira. Go and fish them out. Thank you, sir. Wherever they are. Yes, use that money on their head. Yes, I want to see them live or dead.
The recent successes will heave a sigh of relief for residents of the capital as it confirms efforts to tackle escalating insecurity is already yielding results. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
President Bola Tinubu will hold a closed-door meeting with the state governors at Aso Rock Villa, Abuja, to find solutions to the economic crisis in the country. Now, this comes as Northern Traditional Rulers and Nigerian Bar Association decried the hardship in the country caused by the fuel subsidy removal, which had resulted in higher transport costs and food inflation. The Traditional Rulers and the NBA have asked the federal government to quickly address the situation. 2 presidency officials are reported to have stated that the meeting with the governors would be held before the president's departure to Ethiopia for the African Union meeting. Worsening insecurity in many parts of Nigeria, in addition to the steady rise of foreign exchange rates, have been identified as factors significantly contributing to the hike in the prices of food items in the country. Now, with low-income earners in most parts of Nigeria struggling to survive, Borno state government and other stakeholders are brainstorming on finding a solution to the problem. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The rising prices of essential goods have continued to instill immense burden on the society, especially the already vulnerable communities affected by the ongoing conflicts and displacement. The global aspirations for ending hunger and poverty remains $1 million concern among many Nigerians. The Borno State government, in collaboration with stakeholders from agriculture, trade and finance sectors, recognized the urgency and importance of finding concrete measures to tackle these critical needs of citizens.
We are implementing various programs that are geared towards increasing crop production in the state, especially by adopting modern agriculture.
Diverse strategies are being put forth by members of the business community.
Da kala kallo ka shurma ngo gwamnati ro trailer mi wikina au trailer hu wikina au trailer falli kana ashamma amro samjin dro kalzu samzu na lan afuto ndana kare ishin waso misalo reta waso yayi gwamnati aduziya da ina lan afuto ndana ne.
Other stakeholders highlighted the significance of supporting local farmers and enhancing agricultural productivity through improved access to resources such as fertilizers, seeds, training programs, as well as storage facilities.
Nigeria is big, the population is massive, so we really need to expand our at least farms, produce what we are going to be self-sustainable. We really need to make sure that at least we have a lot of exports. We have to also grow what we are supposed to be eating here by ourselves so that we can be dependent.
The government is pushing for the establishment of Zakat Commission to provide a window for the collection of funds from well-meaning individuals and organizations to support the vulnerable population. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Nigeria seeks to raise 2.5 trillion naira in its second federal government bonds auction. Debt Management Office, in a circular issued on Wednesday, stated that the offerings consisted of 1.25 trillion naira with a maturity date of February 2031 and 1.25 trillion naira with a 10-year tenor. Federal Government of Nigeria saving bonds are part of the domestic borrowing plan of the federal government. Now, last year, the federal government raised about 7.06 trillion naira from the fixed income markets. This year, the federal government has projected its new borrowings to hit 7.83 trillion naira this year. Now, President Bola Tinubu had sought approval from the National Assembly for about 8.69 billion naira and 100 million euros as part of the external borrowing plan for 2022 to 2024. Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment has pledged to work with the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission to boost diaspora investments in the country. This was during a call by the chairman of the commission to the ministry, where she called for the creation of a diaspora desk within the ministry's facilities to help willing investors from the Nigeria's diaspora community. Amading Uyi has the report.
It was a visit by officials from the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission to the Ministry of Trade and Investment. The visit is coming from the heels of the successful hosting of the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit, which saw wide participation by citizens in the diaspora from across the globe. The chief executive of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission used the opportunity to make several requests from the ministry, chief among which is the establishment of a diaspora desk in the ministry.
We have a diaspora policy that actually says that MPAs that are relevant to what we're doing should have a diaspora desk. So we're hoping that under your leadership, we have that diaspora desk as a focal point for everything diaspora investments that will be happening in Nigeria.
She also called for more support for the nation's diaspora community for their patriotism and willingness to stand by the country.
We also believe that there should be some incentives for the diaspora that are coming home to invest. They don't have to. Well, it's their country. And they're saying that, you know what, we're passionate about our country, we want to do a lot more things in our country, we can make sacrifices for our country. But what are we giving in return? What will the minister suggest? tax incentives. There may be incentives which you are in a position to decide on what to do.
The Minister of Trade and Investment, while commending the efforts of the Commission and citizens in the diaspora, pledged to work with the Commission to support Nigeria's diaspora community.
The diasporans, by their own nature, are emotionally or sentimental towards Nigeria, and they will give you their investment by asking you for sovereign guarantee, arm and leg, or asking you for so many things that we've seen other investors doing. When they're your own and they have the willingness to give you the money without attaching so much conditionalities to it, it becomes even more beautiful. And the diasporans fit that category. And so we started thinking of also what to do with your energy, with your team, with your expertise, the wealth of knowledge that you have, and of course our own energy and excitement to work with you. It's only going to be a major breakthrough for Nigerians in diaspora and for Nigerians back home.
The minister also promised the Commission it will henceforth help diaspora investors negotiate long-term investment opportunities and provide extra security arrangements for their investments. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, says there is need for the declaration of a state of emergency in some states owing to heat waves. Many parts of the country are experiencing excessive heat in recent weeks, raising concerns from Nigerians. NIMET said as a result of the high temperature, people will experience dehydration, which could cause fainting, chickenpox disease, measles, and heat rash. NIMET's Director of Weather Forecast Services, Vincent Weli, who stated this on a national TV, said the development might lead to a declaration of a state of emergency. Weli said within the period of 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., people should be excused from duty. People should not be found under the sun. Now we'll take a quick break, and when we return, the news continues. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, we have a guest to speak on the state of emergency needed in some states due to the heat wave. And right now, we would be speaking with Dr. Kudus Olajide Lawal. He's a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist from Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital. Good evening, doctor, and thank you so much for joining me.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
All right, so can you explain the potential health effects of prolonged exposure to extreme heat, and what are some of the common heat-related illnesses that individuals should be aware of?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, our body system is well regulated, and we need to have ambient normal temperature to have normal function of the body. And when the temperature goes beyond what is normal, the body tries to regulate it. And one of the processes of regulating the body temperature is by sweating, in which the body helps to dissipate heat. But when the heat goes beyond what the body can regulate, then it starts having effect on the human body. And with the type of temperature we're experiencing at the moment, and which NIMET have mentioned is going to extend for a period of time, people are likely to undergo some of the effects of excessive heat. The effect of heat varies from mild effect to very severe effect, and some that can be fatal. You can have heat rash, which I'm sure many people are conversant with. Then we can have what we call heat cramps, in which people start having cramps and pains in their muscle. This is a mild form of the effect of heat. Then ultimately it can lead to heat exhaustion, and in the terminal end of it, we can have heat stroke, which can result in convulsion and even death if not well taken care of. So these are the area of heat-related condition that people can, suffer from the direct effect of heat. But beyond that, medical conditions have been known to be associated with heat in terms of their effect. You know, persons with cerebral vascular diseases, diabetic condition are all related to heat wave effect. So the effect of heat is so germane and important, and it's important that we talk about how it can affect the health of individuals, and the reason why people should take extra precautions in this period.
All right, but doctor, are there certain demographics that are more vulnerable to the health impacts of heat waves?
Yeah, thank you. Everybody is at risk of having effects of heat, but there are certain individuals or demographics, like rightly mentioned, who are at increased risk. These are children, young age group. Elderly age group are also at risk. For the elderly, their thermoregulatory system, that is the system that regulates the body temperature in them, is not as functional as it used to be during young age. While for the children, it's not well matured, so they can't handle it very well like a young adult would do. Then pregnant women are at increased risk. People who are, in homes and hospitalized are at increased risk. So these are a group of people who are at increased risk of having effects of high temperature. Of course, people that work, manual workers that work within the sun, of course, we have more effect compared to the general population. So this group of people have an increase in terms of the impact of heat on them, and special care and attention needs to be paid to this category of people beyond what we ordinarily do for the general population.
All right, well, thank you so much, Doctor, for joining me, and we sincerely hope that this heat wave actually passes as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take another quick break, and we'll be back in a bit. Now we move to the east of the continent, where Kenya's veteran opposition and Azimio la Umoja leader, Raila Odinga, has officially declared his interest in the African Union Commission chairmanship. Speaking to the media in Nairobi, the former prime minister said he is ready to serve in that position. Odinga, who was accompanied by former Nigerian president, Olusegun Obasanjo, said he has consulted widely over the matter. He served as the AU High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa between 2018 and February 2023, a tenure that ended due to controversy. His candidature must be backed by President William Ruto's administration, and this could effectively shift the political landscape in the country, as Raila would not be permitted to join the 2027 presidential race.
I've been friends, and now I've been friends of the family, and particularly of Raila. So, consulting, searching, what can we do? And consulting. Second thing is that not too long ago, I was here with the President of the Republic, President Ruto, and Raila. And we went to Mombasa. We went to Mombasa, and the outcome of that exercise.
In Central Africa, 2 South African soldiers have been killed in a mortar strike in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Announcing the deaths, the South African military said 3 more soldiers were wounded in the incident Wednesday near the eastern city of Goma. The deaths mark the first fatalities for South Africa since it began to deploy 2,900 soldiers in eastern DR Congo in mid-December. The troops were sent as part of a Southern African regional force, including soldiers from Malawi and Tanzania, tasked with helping DRC government forces fight M23 rebels. The mostly Tutsi M23 group has seized vast swaths of North Kivu since emerging from dormancy in late 2021. The region has been wrecked by violence in the decades since regional wars in the 1990s. Now let's also tell you that as new figures show, the UK is in recession with 2 successive quarters of falling GDP in third quarter and fourth quarter 2023. The UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, says that the economy is more resilient than most people predicted and insists that the government will stick to their guns on its plans to bring down inflation. Now, news of the recession comes as voters go to the polls in 2 by-elections on Thursday, with the Conservatives fearful of losing one-time strongholds in Wellingborough, Central England and Kingswood in the southwest.
We always expected growth to be weaker while we prioritise tackling inflation. That means higher interest rates. And that's the right thing to do because you can't have long-term healthy growth with high inflation, but also for families. When there's a cost of living crisis, when the cost of their weekly shop is going up, their energy bills are much higher, it's the right thing to do. The underlying picture here is an economy that is more resilient than most people predicted. Inflation is coming down, real wages have been going up now for 6 months. And if we stick to our guns, independent forecasters say that by the early summer we could start to see interest rates falling.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria's presidency, governors consider creation of state police. We also told you that South African soldiers killed in peacekeeping mission. And finally, you heard that Britain enters technical recession. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.